All right, my guys. If you're a new subscriber, you're welcome. If you're a return subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. So, in this video, I want to talk about something that is really important, something that has affected me as a founder here in Africa, and something that I believe every single founder or people starting out like me should be very, very aware of. And that's the fact that, or rather, the facts, yeah, that precede the Western, or rather the Western definition of what pre-seed is, pre-seed investment doesn't exist in Africa. And what really sparked this conversation is I I saw a video where a founder was saying a founder in Kenya, he couldn't raise money. He was trying to raise money. He applied for hackathons, he applied for funding events, and what they do is that they will take you. Yeah, when it gets, most of them want to associate with you until it gets to the time of actually funding you. So it got difficult. So he gathered every single money he had and moved to, I think he moved to San Francisco. And in less than a week, or rather in a week, he was able to raise money. And subsequently, the challenges I myself have had, running a startup, bootstrapping. So that's the point. That's really what sparked this video. And I hope you guys like it. If you don't agree with anything I say in this video, just drop it in the comment section. Just tell me what you don't agree with and why you don't agree with it. So let's just get into the video. So pre-seed investment basically is the first, for some, is the first investment external fund you receive as a company. For others, is the second because you have the family and friends. Now, for those who don't have family and friends that have money to give them, can just move to pre-seed. And the point of pre-seed investment is just to get the product completed, you know, and then get the product out there. And also, initial marketing, just get the product completed and get the product out there. Now, this is where you see, you hear stories like people raising 100K pre-seed, 200K pre-seed, 600K pre-seed. And most of these stories here is from the West, founders in UK, in the US. But when it comes to Africa, our definition of pre-seed is different. And I'm not saying this because of something I read, I'm saying because of something I've experienced. And it's very nuanced, it's very nuanced because if you apply, there are two things you need. There are two ways you can raise pre-seed in Africa. You either know, you either connect to a network of investors, like get in a room with investors, and you get a warm introduction, or your product has to be very, very good and your traction has to be very, very massive. So you can go through the part of networking, which is something every founder should do. You should always try to get into a room with an investor, or you um make you just go and get traction and then reach out to these investors. Now, just a little backstory. Speech Labs currently, I have reached out to multiple investors and I kept getting the same reply, which is we are too early. Yeah, this is not the right time for them. They cannot fund us now because we are too early. Even people that say that they are early stage investment, early stage VC. So I don't get the point. How can you be too early for an early stage VC? Doesn't make any sense. But I have come to realize that is because most African investors or most African VCs need something from you. They need traction. So they need to know that your product is solving a problem for people. So that could be your sign-ups, paying users, non-paying users, but just some sort of evidence that your product works. And mainly for most of them, it is users. They need you to have users. And before they can fund, even pre-seed, which compared to the definition of pre-seed in various other places is not the same. And the second thing they need is that most of them usually want a warm intro. If you can get a warm intro from someone, then that's perfect. Now, I really thought about it and I came up with three reasons why I think this is like this. And by then, if you, I will advise you to stay to the end because I don't know if they'll talk about something really important and something that will significantly affect the startup and tech ecosystem here in Africa. So the first reason why I believe pre-seed is different here in Africa is because of the availability of capital. That's just it. African VCs, African investors don't have access to as much capital as Western investors. It's just like um, a father who has billions and a father who has little money. The kind of the decisions they make, you know, let me use a very good example. VC funds like YC mostly are optimizing for the founder, and they are optimizing for the founder. So what that means is that they are throwing money not because they believe, not on the idea really, but they know that the idea can change and they know that the idea needs to be proven. Hence why they fund the founder and then give them the resources they need to go out and build and meet users. Then if the idea doesn't work, the founder can always change the idea, pivot. But in Africa, because of there's not that much availability, the capital within here is not that much. So these VCs are really careful about the decisions that they made, that they or rather decisions that they are going to make. So they take it very carefully. That's why they need proof. They need proof that what you're doing is something people want. So they don't just throw money at you and tell you to go and build out the product. And the second thing, and a friend of mine will really agree with this, is the mindset. So he believes, or rather, the mindset is saying that even if they have access to capital, because of the African or Nigerian mindsets, they won't fund you because they still, the way their mindset around funding is wrong, and is, or rather, is it's not straight. So that's why they don't fund startups. And then the third thing is environment. And this one I really agree with. And the first and second, I'm really a huge I really have seen the effects of this, which is environment and situations and occurrences. Now we've seen most VCs don't fund pre-seed startups mainly because of what has happened in the past. There was a time there's this fintech. I think I sincerely believe Africa is still in a fintech bubble, but although there are still more important problems to solve in fintech, but most people just decide to build apps that make no sense. But yeah, that's like these VCs have funded startups where the founder showed so much charisma. He showed so much love for Africa after Oga used the money to go and carry Instagram birthday in Lagos. Oga carry money go and build house in village. I've heard of founders that raised 20K for a fintech web app and they use the money to build house in the village and buy car, which is very crazy. So when a VC has gone through all these things, it changes the way they approach funding. It switches the way they approach funding. So these are two reasons I believe are why it's like this. Number one is the availability of capital, two is the mindset, and three is the environment. Now, here is something that is really important and something that would can either make or break the tech ecosystem here in Africa. And that's the fact that giving capital for people to discover their products or confirm their products is how an ecosystem is built. Let's look at the US. Because what capital does is that it provides cushion, it provides headroom, it provides space for founders to explore, for founders to try things that they would not have normally tried. And I sincerely believe that until African VCs or African um, angel investors switch this their mindsets, and I understand, I totally get why they do what they do. But the truth is that if you don't give founders headroom to use this money to build out their product, because most of these founders are either um if you don't give founders headroom to give them funding to build out their product, one thing you get, you won't get founders as early, which is why most of the founders in Africa are people who have worked in corporates and now they have money to take care of themselves, so they can now run this, they can now bootstrap their company because they know that they have money to take care of themselves. So you won't get founders early, and not getting founders early is that you won't get that track record, and you won't eventually build a great ecosystem. So I believe capital, Africa needs is all a capital issue. It's all a capital issue. Okay, I was reading a tweet by Paul Graham where he said that a VC fund, or rather an African this thing, what am I saying? A founder in the UK was afraid to take money because they had not built out their product. And was like, the point of the money is for you to build out your product and get it to the markets. These are the reasons why I just believe that um I believe pre-seed doesn't exist in Africa. And all right, so that's it for the video today. If you don't agree with me or you feel like what I'm saying is wrong, just drop it in the comment section, then we'll explore it there. And yeah, that being said, this is the end of this video. Thank you so much. For those who have not subscribed, do well to like and subscribe. Click the bell notification button so you'll be able to get updates. And thank you.